You know, music is not what it used to be anymore. Now you got all these skinny jeans and assless chaps. I don't know what's going on anymore. But it's like this. I feel that Shawn Porter will provide pressure that Keith Thurman has never experienced before in his boxing career. Shawn Porter is a very disciplined fighter. Remember when he had to fight Adrian Broner? That was originally at a catch weight of 144 pounds. And then, because of some bullshit that was going on with the gloves and that, you know, it was rumored that Adrian Broner was maybe not going to make weight, and then the bullshit with the contract. I really don't want to go back too much into detail, but go back and research. You'll understand what I'm saying. He made that 144 comfortably, and a lot of people didn't think he was going to be able to get down that low. Shawn Porter has like a linebacker physique. You know, he's a guy who naturally should be fighting at about 160 pounds, but because he's about 5'6", you know, barely if that, he's limited to the 147 and maybe 154 pound division. Now, when it comes to Keith Thurman doesn't get the respect that he really deserves, because I've had a chance to talk with Keith Thurman before, you know, and I was, you know, starstruck, even though he had on like these golden like shoes, you know, this jacket with like gold, and then what he tries to do is, let me tell you some real shit about Keith Thurman. What he tries to do is kind of like Bernard Hopkins. He's smart as far as knowing how to dictate an interview. So before you can start saying some shit to try to get some answers out of him, what he'll do is he'll be like, I know what you're trying to say. Now listen, how am I? And he start getting all philosophical on you and shit. But what I've noticed is that Keith Thurman is a very smart boxer. He's very, you know, a student of the game. That's the best way you can put it. He's a student of the game. So I believe that he will be able to figure out a Shawn Porter. But one thing I'm really interested to see is, I want to see how Keith Thurman does fighting on the inside. Remember, we haven't really seen Keith Thurman get tested on the inside. I'm talking about, you know, inside phone booth fighting. Now, remember, when Floyd Mayweather fought Maidana in the first fight, Floyd Mayweather showed us defensive brilliance. Whether you like him, you know, love him or hate him, because he fought in the phone booth with Maidana, but he wasn't, you know, throwing all these wild punches. It was more, you know, just defense and figuring that shit out. I want to see if Keith Thurman's able to do that, because I understand that Keith Thurman has, you know, a lot of hardcore supporters as far as his overall boxing ability. He can box, but remember that 7th round was the 7th round right against Luis Collazo. That right there, you know, even though that one round, that right there showed us that, yo, if somebody better than Luis Collazo, hence a Shawn Porter, is able to do something like that, you know, that's it right there. But let's like this. I feel that Keith Thurman is going to have to do a lot of moving, and he's going to have to smash the shit out of fucking Shawn Porter's face, because Shawn Porter is going to be right there to fight. And also, remember, even though he had that loss against Kell Brook, which was pretty much an inside fight, he is still somewhat labeled a mini Mike Tyson as far as his head movement and able to get on the inside. So you have to think, well, what if Keith Thurman is able to have a better game plan and more activity than Adrian Broner? Keith Thurman is better than Adrian Broner. He has a chance, right? He has more than a chance. I mean, it's hard. This is really one of those situations where it's a 50-50 fight. Yes, I've seen the sparring footage, but listen, it's sparring, man. You know, you can see sparring footage and be like, oh, yo, he fucking him up. But you don't, it's sparring. They don't take that shit serious. You know, and then half of the time, you know, when they spar, they don't think to themselves, oh, this is going to be big footage one day in the future that's going to be used against me. So it's not like they thinking, I'm going to go and spar like this. It's sparring. You trying to figure some shit out. You know, you trying to come up with different strategies and shit. So Keith Thurman versus Shawn Porter. It is actually Showtime Championship Boxing on CBS. Now let me explain to you the business political shit going on with that. What it is Showtime is paying the bill for the fight as far as the fighters' purses and everything. They're Premier Boxing Champions fighters fighting under the Premier Boxing Champions banner, but on CBS. It's free boxing for us, but yet Showtime's paying for it, and PBC is not footing the bill as far as losing money that like everyone's been saying. It's pretty much confirmed. So it's still Premier Boxing Champions. It's still Premier Boxing Champions. But they're just using all the Showtime shit. And remember, CBS owns Showtime. So, you know, it's one of those things where you look at it, you can say, okay, I see what they did here. They're still bringing us free boxing on television. You know, but I can, you know, you can see the little, you know, hints of, okay, that's why people say PBC has been hemorrhaging money. But now, you know, they're having Premier Boxing, they're having Showtime for the bill. Also, we've heard, you know, that the fight has been postponed for various different reasons. The last reason that the fight was postponed is there was supposed to be a media call. There was no media call because Keith Thurman got into an accident. The fight was still going to go on, but something happened with Keith Thurman while he was in training camp or in sparring, where basically he got injured. Not from sparring or anything, but you know, you may get into an accident, get some whiplash or some shit, you know, and you may go to bed cool and everything, and you go to try to spar, or you doing some cardio or something, and you feel like, what the fuck was that? You know, you feeling some shit going on. That's my understanding of what's happened. Now, that's a legitimate reason to postpone the fight. Before that, remember, this fight was rumored to supposed to happen. What was that? I forgot. Was it in November? Then December? What was it, September? Because Keith Thurman hasn't fought since last July when he fought Luis Collazo. The fight's happening on June the 25th this year. Shawn Porter fought that little glorified sparring session, you know, about a month ago. And he hasn't fought really since he fought Adrian Broner last June. So both of these guys are on pretty much the longest layoffs of their career. And one of the reasons why, before the accident, what I'm hearing why it didn't happen is because Keith Thurman wanted more money. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how much money Keith Thurman is making for this fight, because one of the reasons why I've heard the fight was taking so long to negotiate is because of money. Now, what we've noticed, or if you haven't noticed, Premier Boxing Champions' purses, or fighters, Al Heyman fighters in general, their purses are smaller than what they used to be. Like many predicted what would happen in the future. The fighters are not, it's not that they're not getting paid what they deserve, they're just not getting graciously paid. You know, and also, you never know if Al Heyman is starting to call in on those advances or whatever he's giving out. You just don't know. But you know, on paper, from what we've seen, fighters are not making as much as they used to. For example, a Floyd Mayweather fighter before would make at least $1 million, their next fight after him. To where Andre Berto made something to fight Victor Ortiz on paper. I understand people say, well, you know, Heyman does this and gives his fighters this shit behind the scenes, and, you know, he got that and they sent it over to Swiss fucking bank accounts and shit. I understand that. I'm just saying, on paper, he made something like $750, somewhere around there. I forgot what it was, but it's not the normal $1 million you would normally see. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how much Keith Thurman is getting paid for this fight. Because one of the reasons why I heard the fight was just being held up is because of the purse. But if I had to pick somebody, if I really had to pick somebody to win, I'm going to pick Keith Thurman. I'm going to pick Keith Thurman. And, you know, you can't tell me that you don't feel this is a 50-50 fight. So, of course, I'm going to be here. And that's a crazy day of boxing. The Abner Maris fight is canceled versus Cuellar for the WBA world title. Cuellar just got screwed over anyway because he should have been WBA Super World, but they gave it to Leo Santa Cruz. Long story. But Abner Maris is having he failed a physical. And word is he's having some vision problems. So I hope it's not something that's going to really harm his career going forward. But it's like that vision shit ain't no joke, man. It ain't no joke. But I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Keith Thurman versus Shawn Porter, PBC Showtime Championship Boxing on CBS June the 25th, 2015. Then we got Anthony Joshua versus Dominic Breazeale, Eubank versus Doran. You got Grooves versus Murray. You know, it's going to be a big day of boxing. Please subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. All the links to my social media are right down below in the description box. Teach Your Controversy, Teach Your Controversy Live.